Live session. We are going to be, like we do every Friday, reverse engineering websites and digital marketing campaigns to see what we can learn, the things that we can apply and take to our own business. We have a really good selection of sites to look at today, all submitted by lovely folk who check out the podcast and check out these videos. So we've got Mark on the Explosion Ninja live chat. So if you've got any questions there, test him out. He's brilliant. He's really, really good. Super savvy marketer. And we're going to be looking at some of your competitor sites. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments about the sites that we're looking at, drop them in the chat, and I'll try and keep an eye on it as well as we go throughout. Right, so the different types of sites that we're going to be looking at today. First up, we're going to be looking at a local service business, specifically in hypnotherapy. We're also going to be looking at an e-commerce store, a US e-commerce store that is ranking really well. So we'll be able to reverse engineer that ranking. Really interesting market, actually, because it's not something that people would typically assume necessarily suits e-commerce. And we'll look into that in a bit more detail. Then we're going to be looking at Psychology Today, which is a huge content magazine type site with a really interesting local directory business kind of bolted on. Fascinating case study, lots to learn from that, whatever business you're in. Then we're going to be looking at a local solicitors firm. And then if we have time, we'll be looking at one final B2C e-commerce as well. So loads to get through. As always, we're going to be looking at the websites. We're going to be analyzing what they're doing really well, what they could be improving, particularly focusing on how they could be generating more leads or sales by tweaking layout elements, tweaking messaging, things like that. So small changes that can yield big results. And we're also going to be looking at how they're driving traffic to these sites through search, through social, whatever makes the most sense for that business. Now, we've got quite a lot today that tends to be focused on search. That tends to be a fairly kind of common pattern. Search traffic does tend to be very high quality and obviously high commercial intent. If someone's searched for what you do or the problem that they've got which you're hoping to solve, then they have more commercial intent than if they're just typically browsing through social media. But obviously there are business sectors that are very well suited to social as well. So we're going to be looking at a mixture today. Okay, so we are just about ready to get started, I think. So I'm going to share my screen and then we will get cracking. So we're going to be starting off by looking at a local lead generation business, particularly or specifically in hypnotherapy. Now, this site is fascinating. I had a quick look in the few minutes just as I was getting ready to go live. I think there's loads that lots of businesses could take from this site. The first thing to notice about this site, we immediately get this huge interstitial pop-up, COVID-19 update, 16th of October 20. It's the 16th today, isn't it? Wow. All right. So they're obviously updating that, or more likely they've just got a kind of dynamic date insertion there. But the really interesting thing about this is look at the tone that it takes. This is so personal. It's so one-on-one. It's really plain English. So starts off, hello, thanks for stopping by. I want to reassure you that I'm still able to help you with any anxiety-based conditions, even in these most difficult times, virtually for now. Here are 4 pieces of therapeutic reassurance. Number 1, am I still seeing clients? Now, even if you're watching this thinking, well, this is obviously just a single person business, I know. I completely understand that, and you might be tempted to write off this level of personal interaction as, yeah, this is only something that's going to work for a one-man band or one-woman band. Whilst writing in first person, as in I, that's only going to work for a business that has like 1 or 2 people, I think this company has. The language that's used is so personal, and it's as if this guy is just talking to you in a really, in a one-on-one environment. And this is really the tone that we should all be aiming for with our copywriting. It should be as if we are talking one-on-one with somebody. It makes it really easy to understand exactly what they're saying. it makes it actually interesting to read as well. If this was written in I'm trying to sound like a big company, we're all doing this, our localized offices are blah, 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 it becomes really boring and really bland. So it's then it just becomes boilerplate text. But because it's written in this kind of personal way, actually, I found myself, as I was just looking through, actually reading some of the text and being drawn into it. Not because it's particularly beautiful copy, but because it's just real. It's as if someone was talking to you. If you think about it, if you were, meeting this guy on the street, when he's talking to you, you're not nodding off. You're not thinking about other things that you'd go and do. You feel engaged when you're talking to someone and they're talking plain English, whereas you feel disengaged when they're talking sales speak, right? This is plain English. Really good example. So whatever your business, I think there's lessons to be learned from this. And I'd suggest just spending a little bit of time reading through the copy on this site just to see how this approach works and how it makes you feel. Other thing I love about this site, we're already being hit by this, is the call to action. Now, loads and loads of people in the hypnotherapy space, they spend some time in digital marketing, so they know that like free CTAs and things like that, free consultation as your CTA, really common CTA in this space, call to action for those who are new. He's taken it to another level. Look at this, because not only have we got the free consultation, that he's attached a value to it, which is also going to be a bit of a disqualifier on price for those who are really, bottom of the price range, which is absolutely fine. But the other thing he's done is he's added a bonus, right? So adding a bonus on a free CTA, if we think about the 6 elements of conversion, we've got credibility, lure, right? So how attractive is the thing that we're offering in order to incentivize people to get in contact? This is no longer just a free consultation with a value of £50. You also get this piece here, which is essentially it's an audio program, right? It's a piece of content. The reality is probably created it in the hopes of selling it. Couldn't really sell it. So it's just an audio download that immediately triggers. But look at how it's been presented. It looks really good. It's got this kind of CD visual thing. And then we've got this value attached to that as well. This is a really compelling CTA. Good work, Mr. Fixmymind.co.uk. Love, love, love it. Someone said, always advise being writing against first person. Yeah, it's a really common thing. People assume that, well, particularly when you're new in business, if you're, there's very few of you in the company, people think that they need to appear bigger than they are. We need to be talking about huge things and we need to be implying that we're massive. Really not the case. If you're competing against massive businesses, you're not going to out-massive them, right? So you've got to sell on the first person type of thing. This takes me right back to very, very early days of my digital marketing work when I was building websites for tradesmen. And a lot of the time, if we were rebuilding a site, it would be like, we are the Aylesbury Plumbing Company and we are all of this. And it's obvious, it's just the dude, right? It's obvious it's just the guy. We're not actually fooling anyone. But as soon as we start saying, hi, my name's David and I'm really passionate about helping people unblock their drains in the middle of the night. And that sounds completely weird, but I know that if you've got a blocked drain or there's some leak in the middle of the night, that's really, really annoying for you. This is a serious problem. And I take that really seriously, blah, blah, blah. So as soon as you get that kind of personal piece, you immediately stand out a mile from everyone who's trying to appear like Big Corp. So yeah, love it, love it, love it. So got great copy throughout the site. That tone follows through. We've got a picture of him immediately, which is great for credibility. The signature piece helps as well. This reminds me of the old school direct response sales letters and when they first started going online and you're getting the signature and all that type of stuff. So it's pretty good. We've got credibility with the media appearances as well. So, obviously being around a little bit, loads more credibility here. The impression that you get from this is really solid. The danger with these types of businesses is they can, if they're so focused on themselves, they can end up being self-obsessed. So here's me, this is all about me, this is all about me. We've got a really interesting balance here because we've got enough about him to build credibility for him, but then the rest of the site, the service pages are very much focused on the particular fixes. So Another danger of this type of business is the website becomes all about hypnotherapy and assuming that people just love hypnotherapy because he loves hypnotherapy. But actually what people really want is, I want to stop smoking. Hypnotherapy is the vehicle to get me there. So he's done a really good job of taking both the service-based approach, but also meeting the customer where they are. And look at how we're branding these different services. The smoking fix. I mean, that's exactly what the customer wants, isn't it? Fix me smoking, right? This isn't like, oh, help me coach, help me re-educate my brain. This is fix it, just get it done. So I love the angle that we're taking here. Could possibly move these sections further up the page because we're relying on people having a desire for hypnotherapy to get to that stage. Whereas if we start with these, then we're relying on people with a desire to fix their smoking, which is going to be much larger. That's typically what they've come onto the site for in the first place. I mean, it's a really, really good homepage. Nice and long, lots of content, but doesn't feel stuffed. Okay. Then we've got the treatments pages. I mean, this is for any kind of medical or service company, this is exactly the approach to take, because what we've got here is we've got the treatments, but it's not treatments, it's problems that we're solving, right? So treatments, and then we've got these segmented as well. All of the symptoms that people are going through. Brilliant. Let's just open one of those in the background. Then we've got the therapies. So these are like the services, if you like. So these are the problems. These are the services, testimonials, and then everything else is just kind of stuffed into a more section, which we normally wouldn't do, but I actually don't mind it in this case because they're so focused on the problems that people have. I don't think it loses too much. So yeah, I really appreciate a lot of this site. We could shrink up this, the hero section here, just like reduce that in size a little bit. Free CTA, again, the layout of every page is the same, so we're not relying on people coming through the homepage. There's a lot of really good stuff here. I wouldn't say that the site is like super pro. I wouldn't say that it's if we built a site in this space, we would expect it to look better than this quite significantly, but at the same time, it does what it needs to, and I can't see that conversion rate would be lower than 3 or 4%, I would imagine, for the organic search traffic that's coming through. So yeah, lots to be appreciated by this site. Has anybody got any feedback on this? Yeah, love that they're using their client's language. Yeah, absolutely. And Millinery Hub, yeah, you make a really good point there. The site is very calm. The colors are all very neutral, very peaceful. This isn't, it's all blues and greens. That image, I guess, as well as being a hero image, it's a kind of, typical of a hypnotherapist. He's thought all of this stuff through. So yeah, love it. And interesting, the call to action start changing now. I don't go too into it, but if you listen to Tony Robbins, when he was working firstly with one-on-one with private coaching clients, this is nothing to do with digital marketing, by the way. When he was working, this is actually to do with sales process, and particularly if you're generating transformations for people. When he would interview them, he would, let's say Andre Agassi wanted to work, the first conversation he has is he's like, tell me why you're willing to change. Tell me why you're going to change. And he would then get them to sell him on why they were going to change. The wording here, start changing now, is also the first step in the treatment, because you need that willingness and you need that desire for the person to change, particularly with something like hypnotherapy, if they're actually going to get the result. So as well as being really aligned with his customer's language, he's actually starting the process of fixing them with the word in the call to action button. Now, there aren't many businesses that can do that, but I love that. The little detail there. Okay, let's have a look at the site's visibility, and we're using our favorite tool on earth, other than laptops, and we're looking at SEMRUSH here. So what are we doing? We start off with domain overview. So SEMRUSH, great tool for looking at organic traffic, paid traffic. We'll have a look and see what the mixture of traffic channels is here. For this business, organic search and paid search should be the main channels. Yes, we could do a bit with Instagram and social, maybe talking about mental health and that type of thing. But for highly commercial traffic, good space to start is search. Okay, so let's have a look at UK visibility. As we are London, we do have remote service, but let's just start off with the UK. So what we're looking at here is estimated traffic. Let's just expand this to see how it's grown over time. Okay, so it looks like SEO started going reasonably well in 2017, had a high in traffic in March 2019, and then dropped down, which is kind of interesting, and we seem to be pretty plateaued since then. Okay, so ranking pretty well for some key commercial terms. Hypnotherapy London is probably the main phrase that most of these businesses are going to be targeting. Reasonable search volume, reasonable cost per click as well, tells us that it's going to be commercial. So that's nice. Let's have a look at the page that's ranking. That's the home page that's ranking. Okay. So potentially an opportunity there to set up some location pages. I think they've got an office in Hampshire as well, so could potentially set up location pages targeting these London and Hampshire type phrases. Interestingly, it's the Winchester page that looks like it's ranking for hypnotherapy Winchester, but it's the home page that's ranking for London. So that's kind of interesting. Stop smoking hypnotherapy, position 3. Okay, decent. And we've got reasonable search volume there, and we've got clicks. We've got people spending budget. Hypnotherapy for anxiety, position 9. So a bit of work to be done there. But really good search volume for that compared to these other phrases. So that's kind of interesting. So it looks like we're on the cusp of some really good ranking here. We're going to have a look at links in a minute. I just want to have a look at the page that is ranking here. So it's the hypnotherapy for anxiety. So this is the page that's ranking for that term. So anxiety in London is the page title. Not too sure. This page isn't actually about anxiety. It's actually about hypnotherapy for anxiety. So probably optimization of that page title alone might be enough to start getting some ranking movement for that term. Depends on the competitors. I'd also consider, again, shrinking this homepage section if we've got a bit of this stuff appearing above the fold. Hypnotherapy for anxiety in London. Okay. Well, actually, one option would be to broaden that to be, just hypnotherapy for anxiety everywhere. Because if we're starting to get this ranked across the UK, you can start to remove some of the location targeting if you want to play a bigger game. So this is cool. We've got some links through to sub pages. This is nice. We've got credibility there. And notice how he's not expecting you to have come through the home page. So there's a lot of elements about this page which are actually duplicate from the home page. In fact, basically the entire page is duplicated from the home page. See, look at what we've got. We've got the introduction section with him and the signature. We've got the media appearances. Both of those sections were on the home page. We've got Why Choose Us, again, duplicate. We've got the Kelly Holmes Radio 4 thing, duplicate. Then we've just got some more specific information about this particular treatment. We've got restating the CTA. We've got the philosophy, which is a duplicate. We've got testimonial, which is a duplicate. So the majority of this page is actually duplicated from the home page, but that's fine because this is the page that's ranking. So for the people that click on this site, this is their home page. So it needs to act like it. So there's loads of really good stuff going on here. Okay, let's have a look at links and we can talk about some different ways that they could be getting some more links to start pushing up for some of those. Okay, so it looks like we've lost some of the referring domains coming through to the site. Let's have a look at referring domains are basically the different websites that are linking in, and then we can see the individual links within those. Okay, so it looks like we've got some slightly odd stuff here. We've got unsigned.com, which is a site about, I think, unsigned artists rather than anything to do with hypnotherapy. Basically this looks like directory listing. Directory listing appears to have been the link acquisition strategy here almost entirely. Okay. Yeah. And we've even got some really weird stuff with pest control blogs. Right. Okay. So contributing content about overcoming your fear of spiders, which is, yeah, fair enough. Okay. So the next level, like none of these sites are particularly massive authority, right? So the next level for this would be to start building up visibility. If you're competing against this or if you are this guy, the next level above this is to start building up credibility and authority around him and the topic. So reaching out to publications, we're looking at Psychology Today later on. Actually, Psychology Today could be a great publication to reach out to and see if you can contribute some content about a particular topic. So we might be talking about, techniques to cope with stress during lockdown, or techniques to cope with anxiety during this COVID time, or things like that. So looking at topical stuff which is trending, reaching out to publications, blogs, article sites, magazine sites. The great thing is he's got some visibility already from these publications. So when he's going out to Psychology Today, you can say, I've had loads of media appearances already, including blah 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 blah, and then it gives more credibility, so you're more likely to get through that. So yeah, that'll be the next step, to start picking up some really good quality links, which is going to help for those national keywords. But loads of potential there with SEO. Good start, but still work to be done. Right, the next thing we're going to have a look at, final one before we move on, is advertising research. We're having a look at Google Ads, particularly here. What do we see? We see a very basic level of ads. Very few target keywords. We can see the ads here targeting local terms. Actually looks like they're targeting competitor terms. So these look to be, I would imagine they are competitors. So basically bidding on competitor keywords, which is fine. Love it. Using credibility in the ad. I love the use of testimonials here. I give my experience of hypnotherapy with James 10 out of 10. Dame Kelly Holmes. Absolutely use that, rinse that all day, every day. So if you're competing against this again, who can you offer free treatment to? Who can you somehow get consultation with so you can get a testimonial? Look at how he's using that. Look at how he's piggybacking on that visibility to build the credibility of this business against anybody else, right? Look at how he's used that. Every part of the pig, use it relentlessly. Don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed. Just do it. Don't even ask for permission. Just keep going. Okay, so yeah, there's not a huge amount of paid traffic going on. It's mostly competitor terms, so that'll be the next step, is to be a bit more aggressive with that. Okay, but lots of good stuff. Great work, this person. Good work, James, and I hope that's useful if you're competing against it. Someone says, "Can you shrink the video cam? Can't see the screen." Absolutely. Let me just make my magic. There we go. Okay. Right, next site. What are we looking at now? This is a great site, fragrancenet.com. Okay, so someone sent this over as a competitor. So what have we got here? This is I think it's US-based fragrance site. Now, the thing I love about this, how hard has it got to be to sell fragrances online? You can't smell them. Number one problem there. Interesting. So let's see exactly how they're doing it, or how they're not doing it as well. This is kind of interesting. So we've got this kind of dual offer between 25% off site-wide or free shipping, $100 minimum. Click here. Now, I don't know what the deal is with that. How stupid you'd have to be to choose the free shipping in that situation. Because obviously, in order to get the free shipping at $100, if you took $25 off site-wide on $100, you'd be saving $25, right? So shipping's surely not going to cost $25. So anyway, it's interesting to test. See, I guess they might be testing to see what's most valuable for people. But yeah, anyway, I'd just go 25% off site-wide. But first thing, 25% off site-wide is freaking generous. We've looked at... great question, Brian. We've looked at the Hot Group and loads of kind of beauty and fashion sites. The game with this kind of e-commerce is, how do you get that customer the first time? Because if I'm buying Dolce & Gabbana the one, it's not going to last forever. It's going to run out. They're going to know how much I've bought, on average, how long that's lasting, and then they can start, "Oi, Tim, you running out yet? You're running out yet? Do you want to buy some gifts?" Right? So it's all about getting that customer the first time so you can start bringing in repeat business. So Brian has asked a great question. How do you prove that they are not fakes? Almost impossible to prove that they are not fakes. So what you've got to do is you've got to build so much credibility that it's not really a question. right? How do you know when you go into Boots or Walgreens, how do you know that the products you're not getting there are fakes? There are certain credibility signals that, even though they don't promise that they're not fakes, there are certain credibility signals there that kind of tip the balance in your favor. So there's a few things there. Maybe their markup is good. Yes, maybe. But if they're selling the same products as millions of other sites, their markup is not going to be particularly good, because they're going to get to a point where everyone's pretty much at the same price. People are going to be buying, let's be honest, people are going to be, if you need to buy CK1, you're buying on price, right? As long as you're satisfied it's not fake, people are buying on price. So there's no other kind of added value that you're going to put on here unless you're giving away free gifts or something like that. Anyway, returning to this point of credibility, how do you demonstrate credibility, enough credibility that you earn the person's trust? For me, there's a couple of things they do really well. Firstly, the Facebook likes, 1 million likes. You know, say what you like about the validity of that. 1 million likes is no small deal. Right? You're doing something right. Over 30 million orders shipped. There's massive credibility there. So for me, those are the main things that they're using. Trusted online since 1997. So trusted online. Interesting that that is their tagline. To me, that tells me, Brian, that your question is absolutely spot on and they know this is an issue. So trusted online since 1997 is a bold tagline. Okay. So let's see what they're doing. I mean, let's be honest, the look of the site isn't exactly, you know, if you'd have said this site was built in 2010, I'd be like, yeah, that seems about right. What looks like to me has happened is they built a site in like the early 2010s and they've been updating it, you know, revising it over time. It looks pretty good on mobile, I think. Let's just have a quick look. And yeah, it looks pretty good on mobile. In fact, actually, I think a lot of these elements work better on mobile. These big kind of full width sections work better on mobile than they do on desktop. But this to me does look like an old site that has been tweaked and a little bit refreshed. And we're getting to the point now where a more fundamental, widespread refresh is going to be required. So in the next 2-3 years, this is going to look really, really old, and they're not going to be able to get away from that. So they are going to have to do a rebuild. A lot of the styling stuff here just looks super whack. Okay. Let's have a look. Do you know what? I'm not even going to dive too much into the site. I want to have a look at how they're getting visibility, because this is going to be really interesting. So let's have a look under organic first. Super competitive space. So anyone who's winning, all right, here we go. Yeah, they're winning. Love this. All right. So they've got worldwide visibility, but most of it is coming from the US. So let's just have a look at their home territory. Organic search traffic, SEMRUSH is estimating 1 million visits a month, over 146,000 keywords, 319,000 paid search visitors. So they are aggressive. They are seriously aggressive. To be putting that much energy into paid search, plus offering 25% off site-wide first order, I mean, they're investing in customers. There's no way they're making money on first purchase. No way on earth. But 30 million orders shipped. You know, let's hope that some of them are repeat orders. Otherwise, if they're losing $5 an order, then then you start to get to Uber valuations. Right. Okay, let's have a look and see what they're ranking for, how this is going for them. So I can see a couple of really interesting things immediately. Let's see what we spot here. What are you seeing? What are we seeing? Marketing tip. Making a packaging video and send it to the customer to inform him of something nice. Socrates, tell us more. Yeah, okay. So some really interesting stuff here. The first thing is that it looks like the majority, after their branded traffic, which is significant, 135,000 sessions or searches a month for fragrance net, and then another 90,000 for fragrance net, tells us, you know, this business has brand. That also gives us an indication about the amount of repeat business they're going to be getting. We know it's going to be really high if they're getting these sorts of search volumes. Okay, cologne for men, position 1, 135,000. I mean, you could build a business off that ranking alone. That's awesome. Fragrance, position 1, 74,000. Cologne, 110,000. Versace cologne. So they're ranking really well for really broad terms like fragrance, cologne. They're also ranking really well for brands, which is kind of what we would expect a lot of the search volume in this space to be. Now, what's really interesting to me, the thing I said that's really interesting, cologne for men, 135,000, women's fragrance, 90,000, which tells me, and I'm going to make a massive assumption here, but this tells me that the women purchase, they more like they know what they want. The men's purchase a gift, possibly, and maybe not so tied to a particular fragrance, right? It could just be that there's a larger gift market for men, for sure. But the volume of women's fragrance searches, compare 90,000 to, for example, light blue, 135,000, or Dolce & Gabbana light view at 40,000. That tells me that there is such loyalty to these individual products that if you can rank well for all the products and all the brands, that would that would contribute way more than these general head terms, which also gives us an indication into what their strategy would be. Let's get the individual product, individual category pages ranking. They're going to be really high intent. Okay. So I'm now fascinated. We've got to see what it takes to rank for, let's go for women's fragrance. Let's have a look at the page that's ranking there. Well, this is interesting. I mean, this page is nowhere near fully optimized at all. Where have we got ranking for that? All right, position 5. Let's go for something like cologne for men. All right, position 1. Let's have a look. Okay, right, so slightly better in that we've got this text at the top here, but we don't even have cologne for men as the H1. So what I suspect is going to be happening, there's no text copy on this page. It's not particularly well formatted. We've got this really kind of clunky, messy filter section here. There's no other refinement along the lines of price bands or anything like that. It's a bit of a free-for-all. So the only thing I can think is that by showing the most popular brands at the top and with these great, I love how the products are framed. We don't show price, we just show massive discounts. So click-through rate on these is going to be huge. So the only thing I can think that's helping this page is, aside from links and building the authority of this page and, the general authority of the site, also user engagement, let's imagine it's going to be fairly high, because what can you say about something like CK1 or Cool Water, which are like just, category defining products? Well, you don't even show the price, you just show the fact there's 72% off. Like, try and find someone who's shopping for Cool Water that's not going to be clicking on that. So very price driven indeed. 25% off even. Oh, it's just freaking genius. This product page is awesome. But there's hardly any content. Loads of reviews, 194 user generated reviews, all of which are going to be using variations of the term. But actually, there's a lot about, basic e-commerce SEO that isn't being applied here, which is absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Really, really fascinating. Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to take a step back. We're going to have a look at this cologne page, and we're going to have a look and see if they've been building links, if they've been trying to build visibility of this particular page. Okay. So we're going to have a look at the link profile for this particular page. Yeah, good point. So I would think most people buying fragrance online would already know what they want. I wouldn't buy it online unless I already knew what I wanted. Yes, that's true. We've actually had clients in the fragrance space get some really nice success targeting like lookalike fragrances, but also general terms. The thing about targeting a general term is if you're going to be selling, for example, male cologne, you need to be at a price which makes sense for people to take a risk. So at that point, it's not about selling like a 75ml bottle for, $100. It's about selling a taster, like a small sample, making it look amazing, because obviously people have only, they can only judge based on what they look. And then finding what they see, and then finding some way of describing it. So either it's, if you like cool water, then you'll love this, or it's woody and warm, and all this stuff there. So it is possible, and people are doing it, but I agree, there's going to be a much bigger opportunity ranking for these branded terms that people already know. But obviously you're going to sacrifice margin in order to play that game. Okay, so links to this particular page, or referring domains to this particular page, 9,000. Okay, so they've obviously had some link acquisition strategy focused on this page. Right, here we go. So it's basically coupon strategy. Okay, all of these sites are all about coupons. So they've been doing coupon codes. This is how they're building links. This is how they're building attention for these pages. We can see that all of these top referring sites are coupon sites. Not only that, they have coupon or promo or voucher in the domain. So yeah, we don't even need to look into this too much more, to be honest. It's all coupons, which is kind of interesting. And they're doing this at scale. And the dates that this is happening mean that they're still doing this. Okay, let's have a look at some of these then. Let's see what their strategy is. So obviously they're offering pretty good prices already. And then it looks like what they might be doing is running affiliate programs. This could be a massive affiliate program. So Hot Oz Deals is obviously like a coupon type site. Interesting. So it'd be worth, if you're competing against this, I'd have a look at this site, figure out what's going on. It looks like junk, but might be junk. Definitely, the more I look at it, the more it looks like junk. So it could also just be absolute trash, spam, PBNs, disguised as coupon strategy. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if anyone's actually using these sites. I mean, we've got a strategy, right? We've got a link acquisition strategy, and they're not just driving those links to homepage, they're driving them to their core product category pages, which is why these pages are ranking. So big fan of that. Okay, let's have a look at advertising. Let's see what they're doing with PPC. Is there any difference? So Brian has asked, is there any difference between using a shop builder versus self-hosted shopping site? Brian, it's all about how you update it, how much control you've got. If you've got control over your Shopify site, if you figured out a way to get the pages ranking properly, if you figured out a way to get blog content on the site, knowledge base, stuff like that, absolutely no issue with Shopify. SEO limitations are typically the thing that you're up against. SEO and conversion limitations often the thing that you're up against with hosted solutions like Shopify, because they have to sacrifice functionality. They have to sacrifice kind of freedom of control in order to make it simple. Okay, so anytime, simplicity versus absolute unlimited control, there's always going to be a trade-off. So a lot of these platforms fall somewhere in between that. So WordPress will be along the side of giving you more control, giving you more flexibility, giving you more functionality, but then you've got an increase in complexity as a result. So it's less about the platform. It's more about what you're able to do on the platform. So that would be the defining factor. But certainly, we've analyzed sites, Shopify, that rank extremely well for very competitive terms and are well optimized for conversion. So nothing against Shopify as a platform. It can be a really good choice. Absolutely. But you've got to be persistent. You've got to get it working for you. Okay, so let's look at their ad approach. So it looks like they've gone not particularly big at all. Let's have a look and see what they're doing with PLAs, product listing ads. So they're not running much text ads. Let's see what we've got. Right, that's why, because I'm an idiot. Let's go back over to advertising research, see if we get anything different here. Sure do. Okay, so doing a bit of paid ads, but not particularly aggressive. Okay, so it seems to be, no, they are bidding on some fairly broad terms like fragrance. With high CPCs, they've got to be pretty confident in their site's ability to convert if they're going to pay $2 a click for that. Bidding on branded traffic as well. A lot of people are cautious about bidding on their branded traffic. Here's the thing. If your market is all about getting that customer and making sure they stick with you, you do not want to be losing people searching fragrance net to one of your competitors. If you've just spent a whole bunch of money acquiring that customer for the first time by paying to get them on the site, giving them the 25% off, you've got them now. You're hoping to make money out of them on the back end. Last thing you want is they type in fragrance net on Google, click the first result, and it's one of your competitors bidding on your brand name. So if you're going to play the game of spending a lot of money to get the customer in the first place, which a lot of us are, Google ads aren't cheap for anyone anymore, then you've got to play the game of protecting that asset, protecting that brand awareness. And if you've got competitors bidding on your brand name, it's a game you've got to play. It doesn't feel nice, feels like a waste of money, but hey, at least by bidding on those terms, you're going to be driving their ad cost up as well. So it looks like they're bidding on those terms, and it looks to me like they bought fragrance.com. I've seen this a couple times in there as we've been looking through. I bet this is going to redirect. Yep. So it looks like they've bought fragrance.com. They're even they're tracking to see how many people are coming from fragrance.com. Okay, and they're bidding on those terms as well. I don't know why they don't use that domain name. It's killer. Anyway. Yeah, and then bidding on maybe not some of the maybe not some of the most popular products. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if they're being selective in the products that they're advertising against. Hopefully they're looking at the products that they can be most competitive on price with. Let's have a look at their PLAs, and then we'll move on to the next example. I hope this isn't real. So bidding on... the thing about Google Shopping, right, you don't have control over the keywords that you're targeting, but you do have the control over the keywords that you're not targeting. So you can add as negatives if you don't want to be targeting these terms. Some of these look a little bit broad for me. For example, eBay for sale. I'd be filtering that stuff faster than a COVID mask at a Trump rally, right? You do not want to be wasting any money on that. Other stuff in here, Mont Blanc looks too broad. It depends. Like if they're running optimized for conversions, or they've got a particular ROAS target that they're using, then it might be that some of these are making money for them. Obviously, the benefit of Google product listing ads, you can target some of these more general terms because people are only going to click on your product listing ad if they type in Mont Blanc, they see that Mont Blanc Legend for men, and they're like, oh yeah, that looks good. So they're not going to be as unqualified as if you're just targeting with a search ad on Mont Blanc. But even so, that to me doesn't look sensible. Doesn't look sensible at all. Okay, so not perfect, but from an SEO perspective, brilliant. The key question for them is going to be how they transition this site. It's a huge project. Do they work on getting the on-site optimization sorted for some of these category and product pages at the same time? I would suggest that they do. And it's going to be something that they need to roll out really carefully because they've got loads of visibility that they do not want to lose. Okay. Any other feedback on here? What platform would you prefer to build an e-commerce site on? WordPress? It depends on a whole bunch of stuff. We typically use WordPress, WooCommerce, because it gives us the most flexibility. Here's the thing about e-commerce, right? If you just had to base it on e-commerce functionality, you'd choose Shopify every time. It's so straightforward. The checkout process and everything is so slick. They've got integration. You can get your Shopify account so people have, Shopify Pay, so they don't even need to fill in their card details. Lots of stuff to love about Shopify. The limitations with Shopify are all around SEO. So how do you integrate the blog? how do you get control over, URL structure? There's some really weird stuff that goes on with Shopify with category page URLs, where you end up with a whole bunch of different duplicate category pages, basically. And I don't know why they don't sort it. So there's a lot of SEO limitations built into Shopify. So it takes energy to overcome those. Which is why we end up tending to use WordPress and WooCommerce, because it tends to be the most, viable way of getting the SEO stuff that needs to be in place. But having said that, as Luke said, Gymshark is built on Shopify, ranks really well for some key terms like men's joggers, stuff like that. So the thing about Gymshark is it's got such high domain authority, it doesn't need to work as hard on site as other challenger sites would need to. But yeah, they are smashing every area, and they've just put more energy into their SEO side of things as well. They brought on an SEO manager, and they've just brought on an SEO agency as well. So it shows that that is a priority for them. And to be fair, they built the business from the start on SEO. So it's always something that's been quite important. Okay. Let's have a look at Psychology Today. Psychology Today, really interesting site. I have to confess, I'd not actually come across this site before. This is, I think, the perfect way of generating local leads. It's as close to perfect as could get, right? What they've done is they've got the magazine. So I think Psychology Today is a magazine, right? These are the magazines. So they've taken the content from the magazine, put it on the website. They've built cornerstone content pieces to get ranked for some ridiculous terms. When I show you the rankings, you're going to lose your mind if you're an absolute geek like me. And then they've built this find counselors module. I don't know how long, I don't know the timeline of these things, but they've got this counselors module, which I've got to think has got to be the premier find a counselor solution in the world. I have to, because the ranking of this site. So it's supreme. It's exactly what we talk about as the ultimate content strategy, which is you basically turn your website into, you turn your website into a magazine, and then you add on the commercial functionality on top. As a ranking approach, you cannot beat this. So, let me show you the finder person first, and then we're going to have a look at the rankings, and we're all just going to lose our minds. Okay, so I've just searched Bristol. We've got neighborhoods inside Bristol, so this is like a static page that's been set up. I mean, the only thing they could possibly do better would be to have some category top text here, but they've got snippets from this, which is great because we've got a bit of text on the pages. All these listings are great. They've got more info here. There's tooltips. I think they probably could have linked through these to the attachment therapy page. But my guess is they started doing that. They probably saw that they lost people, whereas they want to convert them here, and they want to get those links because they're probably reporting to Bridget on the number of times that she's been viewed or whatever. Okay, so this is great, all great. Yeah, and then you've got like sub areas as well, so you can rank for these individual. It's so good. It's so good. Traditional media companies that have like grabbed the internet by the scruff of the neck were like, right, we're going to squeeze you for all it's worth. So love this. Massive fan of the kind of add-on piece. Let's have a look at some rankings. And I know that we've been focusing all on search. We are going to look at their social as well. And here we go. So let's just go domain overview because I've got some visibility in the US as well. Yeah, Shopify does have some limitations of products, and can be interesting if you get multiple currencies, and that type of stuff can be quite tricky to manage as well. Okay. There we go. All right. So what are we looking at here? 22.7 million organic search traffic, authority of 77. I mean, it's hard to impress SEMRUSH with the authority score. So I just love this. You've got visibility around the world as well. So 2.9 million keywords in the US, 379 376 in Canada and UK, so we've got worldwide visibility. Now, I think the person that submitted this site actually wanted me to look at the UK one, but I can't resist the US as a kind of ultimate ranking strategy. Anytime we're looking at 14 million organic search traffic in a country, then we've got to take a look, don't we? I feel it's my duty. So the thing about this is we're going to see, you don't often analyze a site where a lot of the ranking keywords are actually single words. Okay, ranking position 3 for sex. I mean, yeah, sure, you could say there's not a huge amount of commercial traffic there, but remember what their business model is. If we go onto that sex page, we're running ads. I mean, this is an ad for them, sure, but on other pages, you'll see this is other display ads. And this is all going to be, it's going to be based on CPM. So every 1,000 visits they get, it's great. It's great. Now, this is a kind of interesting page. This is essentially a knowledge base about sex. So this is like a knowledge-based category page all about core topic, in this case sex. So sorry about this if we're squeamish. Then we've got kind of knowledge-based subcategories. Better sex, women in porn. Oh, this is an interesting one to choose. Let's just do another one. Let's go for empathy. It's a little bit more PC. So here's the core page that ranks for empathy. You'll notice this basics is basically, I don't know if you can see that, they've got a basics URL, and this is their knowledge base. Then their topic is empathy. Got a call to action at the top here, right? Really, really good, because this is obviously how they make their money as well as the ads. This is a really well formatted long form page. We've got these subtopics here as well, all in the category of empathy. So it's going to be encouraging click-through rate even more. It's just good. It's just really good. The thing they could do, if I'm going to nitpick, I'd want them to be getting some kind of lead capture, some kind of email capture. What could they get people to sign up for? The conversion rate is going to be low. It's going to be like 0.01%, right? Or maybe 0.1% if it's a really compelling CTA. So get top empathy tips from, the US's leading psychologists or something like that. Take the empathy test, something like that. Really low conversion rate. But with the traffic that they're generating, that's going to be hundreds of thousands of emails a year, which they can then monetize in different ways, whether it's selling magazines, whether it's driving them to the therapist, whatever it might be. So that's the little tiny nitpick I would have for them. There's not much that they're doing wrong, but that is one thing I would do. Rankings are brutally strong. They're ranking position 1 for the word did. I mean, what? It's superb. So let's have a look at the link strategy. The link strategy isn't going to be, they're doing outreach to these publications. It might be. It might have been at the start. Right now, the link strategy for a site with this volume of traffic is more about how can we make these pages readable? How can we funnel link juice throughout the site? How can we optimize internal link strategy, things like that? And then potentially surveys and studies, things that can get newsworthy attention, things like that. But with the amount of traffic they're getting and with the visibility that they already have, they're going to be picking up so many more links than they could pick up from outreach. So then it just becomes more about kind of managing what's happening, right? A little bit like celebrities. There's so much between link strategy and celebrity. Beyonce's agent is not having to go out and pitch for Beyonce to come on Strictly Come Dancing, right? Phil Tufnell's agent might be, right? Different level of authority, okay? Once you get to a certain level, the agent's job becomes more about channeling the energy that's coming towards the site or celebrity rather than going out to stuff, okay? And they're definitely at the Beyonce level. No disrespect to Phil Tufnell. I don't know. And he might be more famous than I think. I don't know. Okay, so let's have a look at their referring domains. This is probably going to be a best of. interesting. Let's order this by authority score because we've got quite a bit of trash. Okay. So we've got links from pretty much every high authority site that we could possibly imagine. Obviously. Let's have a look. As we start to get further down, we start to get into what might look a bit more like a strategy. I mean, the thing is, anytime you're getting 155 links from CNN, then it's just, you know, these are links that they're just picking up through everyday life. It's unlikely to be that they're doing outreach on it. Oh, it's just like a who's who of high authority sites, isn't it? Now, one thing that they may be not doing that they potentially could do would be some kind of tie-up with educational institutions. So we got something with, oh yeah, okay, right, there's their tie-up with educational institutions. So doing things like offering guest post opportunities to psychology professors, because often they'll have a profile link on the Harvard site, which they'll then maybe link to their Psychology Today author page. Things like that can work. Offering courses or advice pieces for education, people who are studying psychology, that type of thing can be a way of picking up kind of widespread links from education institutions. But this is great. I mean, if you want to build a knowledge-based business, freaking look at this. If you're going to compete with this, don't start by targeting sex. Start by targeting lockdown mental health, you know, trending topics, stuff that's much smaller. Yeah, there's no way if you're building a Psychology Today competitor using their business model, forget it. You need another business model. This is optimal for what they're doing. You're not going to beat them at this game. Let's have a look at their social channels, and then we're going to move on to our last one. We've got 4 minutes. I'm not sure I can do them justice, to be honest. Okay, 7.5 million likes. But I mean, look, this is classic, isn't it? It's absolutely classic Facebook. 7.6 million likes, including a lot of my friends who are psychology fans, obviously. 131 reactions. 636 fair. So they're high numbers, but even compared to the volume, it's not that significant. So if I was competing against this, I'd be looking through what are the commonalities between the posts that are getting the best responses. What's kind of interesting here is they're not asking questions. I would have expected them to be asking questions. Instead, they're offering opinion pieces, because here's the thing, like if you're a business like this, everyone has an opinion. Everyone is a psychologist, right? I would bet all of my 16 friends that follow this would have an opinion on every single one of these articles. So the focus I would have would be on how can I get them to express their opinion? So, here's an article. Does similarity really matter for relationships? Opposites, research shows, generally don't attract. Most people seek partners similar to themselves, but the most compatible couples rank at least 2 factors as even more important. You could just add a poll onto that, couldn't you? We're curious. Is your partner a similar or an opposite? The engagement on that would be freaking massive. And what that's going to do is that's going to boost your Edge rank or new version of Edge rank so that your following organic post have an increase in visibility. That's the sort of stuff that can go viral. So I don't know why they're not trying to get more engagement. They're just posting these blanket statements with a link to their articles. They're getting some visibility, but I don't think anywhere near as much as they could be. And it might be that they want to protect this for, the proper psychologists rather than, the amateurs who are all going to give their opinions on polls. But I just think there's an opportunity there. Okay, Twitter. I mean, Twitter's probably the lowest engagement social channel that you could find. Yeah, as we're seeing here, 2 or 3 comments on this. I mean, what do you have to do to be good on Twitter? Instagram. Okay, we've got a strategy. I think they've got a model for their Instagram game. Interesting. All right, so we've got yeah, but again, it's all pushing out, isn't it? It's not actually questioning. It's not actually trying to get engagement. It's just pushing out and hoping that we get responses to things. So I think that there's going to be opportunity there. So if I'm competing with them, perhaps I'm focusing on my socials and I'm building more of like a viral page for psychology and people that are interested in psychology. I'm building a viral page for the target audience of the site rather than just preaching and being an educator. Maybe that's the angle that we take here. Interesting. So fascinating. I hope that you've found that interesting. Now I know these sites are big, or at least Psychology Today is big. But for me, there's a lot of value in studying what the best in the world are doing. Because now when you look at your own strategy, all of a sudden, you might be thinking, hey, I've got a bit of work to do. Great. You want to calibrate yourself to the best in the world, don't you? So I hope that's been useful. We're going to wrap up now. I've got a couple of bits of housekeeping. Firstly, I'm not here next week. So unless Dale or Mark fancies running a sesh, and I will ask them, we are probably not going to have a session next week. Second thing, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to start toning down the number of email notifications that we send out for people because we're blasting people a lot. So if you want to attend future sessions, they're going to be 10:30 every Friday UK time. Then you're going to need to subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure you see those. Third thing, subscribe to the podcast. Go on your podcast platform, search Exposure Ninja, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us a review if you love the show. Really, really important. Desperate to get some really nice reviews on Instagram. Cool. Okay, Millennium Hub. Yes, if you want to analyze social data a bit more, you can use socialblade.com. It gives you a bit of a kind of stat on engagement versus followers and that type of thing as well. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks' time. Take care.